the institutions of disaster risk governance. It is really important that whatever we do in terms of deploying these tools, it really strengthens disaster risk governance. It does not create, confusion, so much room for misinformation and disinformation. So it's really important that it strengthens the disaster risk governance systems. My final point, and this is particularly looking beyond 2030, is to say that the world has made tremendous progress in saving lives. Sendai Framework has several targets. The first target is reducing mortality. Decade on decade, mortality is down by 50%. But as many people as 10 years ago are losing their houses, their livelihoods, the economic impacts are going through the roof. What we really need is a deeper transformation. So those who are working on developing AI tools, I would urge you to look at problems that need to be solved, not problems that we can solve. We have to look beyond what is apparent, what is really visible in front of us. How do we use AI tools to inform housing policy so that 20 years from now, the entire world is resilient, we lose far fewer houses, far fewer infrastructure. So how do we work on deeper transformation? That's my only plea. Thank you.
Thank you. A very clear challenge. Thank you, Kamal. So now we'll turn to Kamal, please.
So thank you so much for hosting us today. From my perspective, success in an AI-driven world cannot mean technological advancement only. It must mean inclusion, affordability, and access at scale. Today, nearly 70% of global filings come from large companies, and 85% of them are only concentrated in 5 regions of the world. That means that most startups, universities, SMEs, and emerging economies remain structurally disadvantaged in owing innovation and IP sovereignty. Speaking as a founder who's built and scaled up an AI company in legal tech, we built AI not to chase trends, but to correct these imbalances. We used smaller, open source, fine-tuned models, embedding and RAG architectures. We used domain-specific data sets. We combined AI and domain-specific talent, and we made advanced innovation tools affordable to all. And we have already impacted more than 1 million students and researchers in India and more than 100 universities. I think what fundamentally changes in an AI-driven world is that AI can collapse barriers of cost, expertise, and scale. But this will only drive global development if we scale responsibly and we design inclusion from the beginning across key areas like healthcare, agriculture, education, and research in India. Governments have a very critical role in providing access to subsidized compute to startups, support for open model and lightweight models, investing in quality data sets, and strong AI talent pipelines. And of course, nurturing startups and giving them financial pathways. 2 things must not change in today's world. Human judgment and context must remain at the center of AI, and the AI should complement the human expertise and not replace it. And number 2, we have to continue to upskill and reskill our workforce, and this has to be the endeavor both of public and private institutions. I would like to end by saying that beyond 2030, especially for the developing world, success is not going to be measured by how big models we have or we developed, but it will be shaped by how many people those models empower. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Great message, especially for the governments in the room. Thank you. Sangbo, I'm going to turn to you.
Thank you, Doreen. Good morning, everyone. From the World Bank point of view, AI can bring a lot of more opportunity, as you know. But more important thing is how can we really practically utilize this technology for our daily lives? So many people are thinking and talking about pre-requirements for AI, such as energy, internet connectivity, computing power, data sets, talents. All of those are very important, but that we cannot fully waiting until all of those prerequisites are getting ready. So more important thing for now for everyone is that developing and finding real practical solutions by fully harnessing AI technology to support our people, whether it is farmer, teachers, students, patients, medical doctors, whoever needs this technology. So from the World Bank point of view, we are developing so-called the small AI, which is very practical, affordable, and the locally relevant the solutions, regardless some constraint of our resources. So we are really developing some really good practices for this. So I believe that will be the good starting point. All of us can think about how can we really use this AI in this era. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sangbu. So now we'll turn to Shankar. Please, over to you.
Thank you. Building on what Sangbu said, I have a dream that in 2040, a 30-year-old lady from rural Nigeria wins the Nobel Prize in Science by doing research in her native language and accessing the world's greatest minds and research thanks to AI. It's a dream. But so was climbing Mount Everest a dream, landing on the moon a dream, breaking the 4-minute mile barrier a dream, breaking the sound barrier a dream, till someone did it. When they did it, the impossible became possible. But when they did it, they also illuminated a pathway for others to do it. So you had more and more people dreaming bigger, better. I would like to see the same happen in AI. We are already seeing this, and we call this as a diffusion pathway. The pathway between AI invention, AI innovation, and AI application and impact. There's a massive missing middle. And to give you an example of what this could look like, as XStep Foundation, it took us and a bunch of partners 9 months to help Maharashtra launch its agriculture AI advisory, 9 months. Then it took 6 months for Bharat Vistar. Then 3 months for Ethiopia Open AgriNet. And as of February 11th, 3 weeks for Amul, the world's largest milk cooperative serving 3.6 million farmers. 3 weeks to launch their AI advisory. What happened? Everyone learned from the previous person. The pioneer shared their knowledge with others. As XStep Foundation, today we have a clear call to action. We would like to collaboratively create 100 pathways by 2030 across sectors, across countries, across continents. And we are already on the journey. What I explained was one pathway, but this is a very collaborative journey. We've had Google and World Bank and UN and several others helping us. If we get to that 100 diffusion pathways by 2030, my dream is on its way to becoming true. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we all want that dream to come true. I'm now going to turn to Vilas. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Doreen, and thank you all. I look across the room and I realize that everybody in this room has selected to be here for a conversation about AI and development. There's something quite powerful about the agency that we have to choose this over the 12 other sessions that are happening right now. I think in many ways that gives me quite a deal of hope. Let me share with you an observation I've had over the course of this week and in our work. My name is Vilas Dar. I lead the Patrick J. McGovern Foundation. I think we are among the world's largest funders of AI for good, with over $500 million deployed over the last handful of years to build an ecosystem of AI for purpose. Here's the observation. I think so often when we think about capacity building in the context of development, we talk about quite diffuse metrics. We talk about how do we get governments to share in compute. We talk about building ecosystems that support millions or hundreds of millions of people. But then we hear the other side of the public conversation. We say, who are the people and institutions we talk about? And we see a hyper concentration of stories. around technology companies, around pilots, maybe around a few interventions that feel quite powerful. I think AI diffusion is, to me, the new form of something called trickle-down economics. It becomes a way that we say, we let concentration happen, and somehow by lifting those boats, everybody else will benefit. I reject the premise. In a conversation about development, our story here shouldn't just be celebrating the few, but rather really investing in empowering the many. In thinking about not how we highlight a few pilots that transform a particular sector, but really say, what is our commitment to the long term? To invest in a full ecosystem of capacity that lets us transform systems at scale. And to be quite pragmatic about that, maybe 3 things that we might consider doing together. 1, to move a conversation about the hundreds of billions of dollars of investment we're putting into private sector tech companies, and say, how do we match that with public scale political will and capital that lets us invest in public good at the same level? The second, to stop thinking entirely about solutions and to go back to something more fundamental. What is the rights-based framework? What are the norms, principles, and values we want to invest in that shape the society of the future and direct what kind of solutions we build? And the third, to move the agency for these conversations merely from technologists and regulators to a broad-based public conversation, the kind of conversation we're having today that lets this be something that we decide on together in a democratic process, that lets us feel ownership and agency over that future, that lets us say development by 2030 isn't something that's done by a few for the benefit of the many, but it's done by all of us for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vilas. So that wraps up our first panel, and I want to say I'm feeling very excited. I think our panelists, first of all, they did an amazing job at timekeeping, so bravo, we're right on time. But also I'm feeling really excited because they have laid out kind of the possibilities and the opportunities, the things we're doing right and the things that we also need to focus on for the future to make sure that we get it right for everyone, everywhere. So ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to our awesome panel.
Yes, before we begin with the second panel, we invite all speakers to come up to the stage for a photo opportunity. And please stay on the stage, first panel members, for the photo. Please, all speakers.
Could we have the other speakers? Bipin Preet, please. Minister.
Please come up to the front, everyone.
Safia, please.
Yes, please remain in your seats because the panel discussion will continue after the photo opportunity. Thank you, and thank you again to our town hall speakers for the first session. We will move on to part 2.
See you soon. Thank you. May I invite the speakers for the second round to just come on.
Yes, so I would like to introduce the speakers for the second part of the town hall to the stage. Mr. Bipin Preet Singh, co-founder and CEO, MobiQuick. Ms. Claire Melamed, Vice President of United Nations Foundation. Mr. Osama Manzar, founder and director of Digital Empowerment Foundation. Ms. Paula Bogantes Zamora, Minister of Science and Technology, Costa Rica. Mr. Robert Opp, Chief Digital Officer from UNDP. And Mr. Surya Ganguly, Associate Professor of Applied Physics, Stanford Institution for Human-Centered AI.
And Safia Hussain from Karya.
The floor is back to you, USG Gill.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Thank you, Doreen, for leading us through a very exciting discussion in the previous round. And we're going to continue that with some new perspectives. So we have a mix here of senior government officials, startups, exciting startups in the AI space, more established startups. Bipin, you are a unicorn now many times over, is it? And leaders from within the UN system, UNDP, and someone who's worked a lot on data for development, Claire. And then, of course, we have a strong civil society perspective, Digital Empowerment Foundation, with Osama Manzar. So my question, the second question that we're going to explore is around inclusion, risk, and responsibility. So as AI reshapes these development pathways, Shankar mentioned those 100 arrows coming out of each one of those goals. What are the most serious risks of exclusion, fragmentation of international development cooperation, or inequality? Or in other words, what should we do differently in the next 2 to 3 years to prevent those kind of outcomes? And may I invite Bipin Preet to kick us off? And we'll keep it, and I think Antonietta is there to remind us of the time limits.
Thank you. Thank you firstly for inviting me in this session. So just for introduction, I am Bipin Preet Singh. I'm founder and CEO of MobiKwik. We are a listed company based in India. So we operate in the space of fintech, which is finance plus technology. And we have products and solutions in the space of payments, digital payments, as well as digital loans, digital investments, digital advice, all through an app that currently is being used by more than 180 million people across the length and breadth of country, and about 4.5–5 million small businesses as well. And we've been around for 10–15 years, 15 years. So I can share some perspective about a country as diverse as India, where, and being in the AI Impact Summit, I believe that AI, or technology specifically in the shape of AI, has the ability to reduce exclusion and support financial inclusion for a country where language, culture, habits vary so much, not just across states or regions, but also across the income levels, across different demographics. And at MobiKwik, we are working very hard, and we understand this responsibility because we are one of the pioneers, we are one of the early players in this ecosystem, and we look at 3 different aspects when we look at increasing financial inclusion, especially with AI. And the first one is around ease of use. As you know, in India, most of the apps are currently still being used in English and digital, so we believe that this will give way to conversations in the native language, and that is something that is possible using AI. Secondly is around trust. There is a lot of anxiety that users have when they use digital products, especially if they are not literate. And AI has the capability to handle that, reduce that anxiety, and increase the trust level so that they can use the products easily. And the third and the most important thing is financial literacy, which is very important for people to consume and use complex financial products, which otherwise they cannot understand that easily. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bipin Preet. And I'm going to jump straight here to Safia, who's the co-founder of Karya, for her perspective.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Under Secretary General. So I am the co-founder of Karya, and we're an impact-focused data and AI services company, all the way from data set building to annotation, all the way to evaluations. And I think one of the things that actually my co-founder loves to say is that everyone in this room, but most specifically, I think people that are living in low income, in rural communities, are actually the best builders and beneficiaries of AI. But I think the problem that we have today is that we see those as 2 separate things, right? We see on one hand workers, the builders of AI, and on the other hand, we have everyone else, those who might benefit. But I think what I want to position today, and what I kind of hope in our movement towards 2030, is that we start thinking of these 2 things together. Because when we think of someone as both a builder and a beneficiary, that is when we're able to think about power and trust actually happening. Because if you're not able to be a part of the conversation from the very beginning, if people are not included from the base of the value chain and the bottom of the pyramid, then how can trust actually evolve? And more than that, by creating diversity in our inclusion, in our building, in our beneficiaries, we also must think about language and cultural context, because we don't want to be in a world where we have AI models that may be technically correct, but don't actually help us. So I think that's what I want to leave us with. Let's think about how we can bridge the gap between builder and beneficiary and actually create a stage where people can have power and present their voices. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Safia, for exhorting us to avoid the dichotomy between builders and beneficiaries. Surya, Professor Ganguly, if I may turn to you for a perspective from academia. You know, you bring together three very, very interesting fields: AI, neurobiology, and physics.
Right. Yeah, so, you know, I think one of the things that I worry a lot about is the concentration of power and wealth and AI capabilities in the hands of a few, right? You know, there's maybe order 4 companies that are guiding the course of AI development. I could have been working at one of those companies, any of those companies probably, but I chose to stay in academia because I cared very, very much about the open dissemination of scientific knowledge and knowledge that could be given to everybody in the world. Now, if you think about why AI has been so successful in the last decade, it's not been necessarily because of the companies. They took us to the final mile. But it was actually tons and tons of legwork that was done in academia and also open publishing in the companies. Imagine, for example, if Google had never published its famous paper, Attention is All You Need, the transformer. It was a pretty esoteric paper initially in machine translation. But eventually that led to AlphaFold and protein folding and drug discovery. So there's this compounding effect when we do science openly with the world and we share it. And that compounding effect can be a major driving force in stopping the inequality driven by AI adoption and AI power in the hands of the few. So what I really urge is strong public investment in publicly funded AI generation, something like a CERN for AI. You know, particle physics was incredible. It had lots of spin-off effects in technology, but AI will have more. If we decided to collect our global efforts to build a huge particle physics accelerator to drive knowledge about the natural world to all of humanity, how much more could we achieve if we had public investment in AI to spread it across the world? I think that would be fantastic.
Fantastic. CERN for AI. Doreen, we heard that for the first time in 2017 at the AI for Good Summit. Thank you very much. And Robert, I'm going to come to you now for a perspective from the United Nations. UNDP is the leading actor on development on behalf of the United Nations. So how do you see the AI agenda and the SDGs agenda coming together?
No, well, thank you very much, and thanks for convening us at this really interesting discussion. You know, I think one of the things, if we just look globally at the situation of development, there is a defining character, which is inequality. And if we look at where the potential benefits of AI can take us, there's no question. Economic and social progress can be, you know, accelerated by an incredible amount. But where is that acceleration going to happen? And do we want a world where there are certain countries that are able to accelerate in incredible to levels of wealth and progress and scientific achievement and so on, and the diffusion model, which Vilas mentioned in the last part of this discussion, is that really what we want? We want trickle down? So when UNDP works with our countries worldwide, and we're present in 170 countries, what we see are dramatically different levels of capacity and ability to actually embrace the benefits of AI and take on what is out there. And so for us, we do think investment in ecosystems is actually really important. And those ecosystems are defined by things like, of course, getting the data right and data governance and so on, kind of unsexy topics. But even more so, basic institutional capacity to be able to actually embrace and manage the change that is going on out there. And so this is where we're putting a lot of our effort in trying to understand those fundamentals and do it in a way that is inclusive. And we believe firmly that inclusion builds trust. And if we are going to make progress on this globally, and we are going to close that equity gap that is facing us now and is likely to get worse with the rapid introduction of AI, then we need to actually build that trust as well.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you very much. And thank you for our work together on digital public infrastructure. Claire, I'm going to come to you now from your current perspective and also, if you wish, from your previous perch.
Thank you very much, Amandeep. Thank you, Doreen. It's a real pleasure to be here and really glad, like Vilas, really glad that so many people have chosen to come and listen to a longer-term conversation about AI and development, one of the quite difficult topics that we're thinking about this week. I mean, I think sometimes we're sort of prone sometimes in this discussion to see AI as a bit of a kind of brand new beginning. But I think it is important, particularly when we're thinking about inequality, to remember that AI is coming into a world which is already highly unequal. And it is those sort of existing patterns of inequality that have led to the, as Rob just said, the unequal patterns of adoption of AI that we're already seeing in the world. New technologies always create inequality. You know, not everyone in the world is going to adopt a new equality on exactly the same hour of the same day. There's always going to be some inequality. The question in front of us is not, is there going to be inequality in how people adopt AI? The question before us is that inequality just a function of people adopting it at slightly different speeds, or will they become systemic? And will some people be actually excluded in a more permanent, structural way from the undoubted benefits that AI can bring? And I think that is the kind of policy, the investment question that we can define the answer to in this room, in other rooms like it, where decisions are made. And for me, there are sort of three things. Oh my goodness, 30 seconds and I haven't even got to the point yet. Three things that we need to. I love the second question on this section. What do we need to do differently? That's where we need to focus. And for me, there are three things to think about. What incentives are we offering to AI developers, to policymakers, to researchers? What are the incentives that are created by our policy frameworks, that are created by our regulatory frameworks, that are created by global goals and other kind of global. So the incentives that people face, the investments that we put in. Ending inequality is not a cheap option. It's going to require investments, public sector, but also private sector investments to get over some of those structural issues. And thirdly, interoperability. How can we get over this problem of pilots, of lots of small things happening, which can help a tiny fraction of people? But to end these inequalities at scale, we need to make sure that everything that we build is interoperable and contributes to the whole system.
Thank you, Claire. Osama.
So I'm civil society, I'll take 3 minutes. Extra population, right? Okay, so as usual, civil society has more questions than solution, right? So I just wanted to bring 3-4 things. One is that I was talking to this editor of Wired magazine about 3 decades back, and I asked, what is the future of technology? He said, the future of technology is biology. So unless we understand the system of biology, so that's where I'm coming to. We got internet 3 decades back, but now it is in the hands of just 5 companies. You know, we got social media to connect the community, but it started disintegrating societies and communities, even democracies. So every time the technology is pushed, we start discussing about technological innovation as if that it will be changing the whole humanity. Even the wheel is not used by 90% of the population of the world, which is the biggest innovation. And, when I started researching on AI, I just have these things. I searched the machine itself, and I asked what are the virtues of, AI. And it said discrimination, hallucination, environmental degradation, exclusion, prejudice, algorithmic manipulation, data mining, bias, inequalities, profiling, fabrication. So this is the virtues of the technologies that we are saying that it will save the world or make the world efficient. And therefore, it's extremely important for all of us here is that even if we are going to use this technology as solving bit of a problem of the humanity, what kind of the safeguard that we should have. And by 2030, if you are saying that beyond that, what will be the future of SDGs and all that beyond that, then all of us need to, because all this relate to social, system of the society. And therefore, if we are using to go to technology and data in that manner, how do we do it? That's my point.
Thank you, Osama. You brought the Pandora's box along. Okay. Minister, I'm going to turn to you for the final reflections. Please.
Thank you. So governments face big challenges and big risks. I wrote a number of them, and I'm going to try to be brief so I can stay in time. But definitely infrastructure. 70 countries around the world have deployed 5G, a third in Latin America. So we cannot think of utilizing AI if we don't even have the highway to deploy AI. So that is a big challenge for countries. The other one is software speaks English, and I come from a Spanish-speaking country. So we must make sure that there must be a correlation or, that we all communicate in the different languages we all speak. But then we also think of data. Algorithms feed on data. And I can say from a Latin American country, we have a huge challenge on making sure that our data is not written on papers, although I brought a paper, that it's digitalized, that it's standardized, that the data is, the quality of the data is also good, so we can feed algorithms, and then AI can include everybody, not just the countries that have been doing the homework. Another risk or another challenge is AI-driven jobs displacement isn't just an economic challenge, but it's a social and it's a fiscal one. And I'm going to use Costa Rica's example. We're very proud of the fact that we provide universal healthcare system. But if you think of the aging population within the last 15 years, Costa Rica's life expectancy moved from 71 to 81 years of age. But also then think of the fertility rates. We stand 14 in the world as the lowest fertility rates in the world. 1.3 children per family. OECD average is 1.5. India is 2 kids per family. So that brings a lot of stress to our pension system. And those are things that we as governments need to think about. And also, then, how are we going to answer the job displacements with our population? Are we still going to think of 5-year term careers? Or should we be thinking of 1 year faster certifications? So all these people that will be displaced by AI, then we can provide to them the necessary tools so they can go back to the employment and then feed into our pension system. It's all a loop. And those are serious risks that we as governments need to sit down and think, how are we going to utilize AI to make sure that we jump into the wagon of economic development?
Thank you so much, Minister, and a big thank you to all of you for making such excellent points and on time. So we have actually a minute left, and Doreen and I are not going to attempt any summing up, so 30-second remarks. I just want to say, some words that have kind of, hopefully stay with all of you. AI diffusion cannot be trickled down. We need to transform systems at scale, and this should not be just seen as another tech wave, and we should be mindful of some of those consequences. So let me hand it back to Doreen for her final reflections, and thank you again.
Thank you, Amandeep, and thank you to our amazing panelists. Just very quickly building on your comments, Amandeep, just to add a few other points that I was hearing. Of course, the importance of political will, the importance of that infrastructure, the investment in that infrastructure, the importance of developing the local ecosystems with context in mind, linguistic, cultural. The skilling piece, you mentioned also the financial literacy piece, also so critical. Rob, that institutional capacity piece, I think, is sometimes overlooked. And of course, keeping people at the center, something that we have to keep in mind in all of our discussions. And with that, it will help us to unlock potential to impact lives and livelihoods. I think also that builders and beneficiary piece was certainly an important one. And of course, responsibility. We have to keep responsibility in focus. Also, Amandeep, if I can mention, I think these deliberations will also help as we look forward to July with the global dialogue fast approaching, the ITU AI for Good also taking place back to back, and also the World Summit on the Information Society Forum, because I think all of these roads actually intersect. But thank you so much, and I hand back to you, Amandeep. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for prioritizing this topic, and thank you to our esteemed panelists for taking time out. Thank you.
Thank you, panelists. May I request all of our speakers to please ascend the stage. We have mementos for you. And to the audience, I'd just like to point out that this panel is quite like a microcosm of the summit itself. It had civil society, it had industry, it had policy professionals, it had government, it had such robust participation from every vantage point that we're looking to cover in this summit and in our participatory governance approach. So thank you so much for this very interesting session. We'd just like to give away a few mementos.